I'm sure that they go around and they sell Southwest or Sarnia Lambton. Well, if we can hook onto that and have brochures, or even have somebody there, or a booth or something, right? So
we have the opportunity to support through a sponsorship of an event that's going to be in our municipality this summer that's going to attract people from across the country.
on the other side.
It's the 7th Annual Canadian Motorcycle Cruisers National Rally. It's going to be in Forest, at the Forest Fairgrounds, and this is something that was just announced last week. TSL has worked on that, and they're asking for sponsors. For $1,000 you can be in the package with all of your information from the municipalities.
Yeah, it's neat, bikers in Forest instead of Grand Bend, that's neat.
Absolutely. I'm sure they'll tour to Grand Bend and spend money, but this, we'll get this,
Yeah. No, it's excellent to see. It's right there. So
it's something to work on. Dr. Scott?
I think that the one thing that we don't want to do is cramp a committee and say to them, well, you can't go to a conference because our council is okay. Like, there are some things that Carol has sent in smaller portions that are just over in Warwick, and in other things that people have the right to go. And if there's something in Toronto for one day that's about economic development that does tie in, you know what it's like when you go to some of these conferences and you have a schedule and there'll be like 6 things running concurrent, and you can only go to one, and your other councillor or deputy mayor or mayor can go to another one. There are lots of opportunities for people to go. I think we don't want it out of control, but we also don't want to say if this is something that's going to be for the benefit, or maybe council's not going to that particular one, and maybe there is somebody from that group that does want to go. And I think you have to be careful about saying, oh, well, council's going to bring it back and tell them.
Any of these things can be brought to council to make the decision at any time to send wherever, as long as it's within. We spend money, we have this year that hasn't been budgeted. We've found something that needs to be done, and we put money towards it. So, Councillor Vance.
Yeah, I think, you know what's unfortunate, Marty and Maury, is that maybe the time, and so maybe this year will become the pilot year. Maybe we put some money aside if they meet quickly enough with the budget, to the deputy's point, and feel that we may want an ED officer. But maybe this is going to be the year where we get it right, and then for next year's budget. Because truthfully, I look at the ad hoc committee, I look at the money that those volunteers paid to travel to different sewage plants and that type of thing, never billed us for it. And I think if this is going to be a standing committee, there is value, especially with the citizens who give up their time. There is value maybe in sending them around. So this might be a year where, rather than budget for that and anticipate that, we make a note of it and look for the reporting budget.
Just bouncing off of Doug's idea there, I think that we have to at least start with the same amount in the budget that we started in 2012 as a base. Would make sense. And is there any reason why we wouldn't even put away the value of even a counselor, the salary a counselor would have, which isn't exorbitant, of course, and some basic benefits that accompany that, for an economic development officer in this budget. Because then we would have it available if in fact the committee does decide that that is a way to implement these ideas most effectively.
Maybe deputy mayor's salary, you'd never get him a counselor salary.
You could try as a pilot project. You could see. You know, it's not necessarily a 24/7 job like a counselor's job is, but it has. or the clerk's job.
The chief clerk.
Okay, we're all aware we need to put some money in the budget. We're all aware of what was put in the budget last year, so when we go through the budget process, we keep this in mind.
So
Sorry,
I make a motion to accept this report as is, except for the amendment to, what was it, 3A? And that was for the time serving, right, the midterm election?
It goes with the term, but they kind of have a...
But that'll go with the term. And it's a good idea to have 1, 2, 4, because if during the process of, even if it does coincide with an election, we don't get overlap, but people join maybe 1 or 2 years in between, or somebody leaves halfway, or that final third year, you can still get them in a 1 year term.
Second, right, any other questions, Councillor Scott?
On F6, I'd like to add and chief clerk as the resources. We discussed that, and John made a very good point there, so it talks about getting duplication of services, and we can put just the chief clerk. I'm quite happy with that, but I just want that added in there, so would you two be open?
Just an example.
I know, but I'd like it added in with the examples, so would you be willing to amend that?
Sure.
And you?
Which one are you putting in?
Sorry, what are you, F6, just to add the clerk in there.
And behind the
To
example.
eliminate the duplication?
Yes, eliminate duplication.
He's got chief clerk all the way through.
Eliminate the chief.
We're not eliminating the chief.
All in favor of that recommendation? Good, thank you. Good,
Excellent.
Good, we're 6 months of hard work.
Just that it doesn't,
Just, we have another motion coming?
yes, I'd like to, if it's amenable to council, to make a motion that we actually request a report from the staff asking for potential terms of reference as far as specifics regarding this committee, and so that we can go forward with posting the request for potential members of this committee. If we have to have it by February, and we have to start right away, right? So,
Terms of reference will be mostly what is there, is
Yeah.
there,
is there,
In service board.
Basically,
recommendation F was basically the terms of reference for the committee.
well,
Yeah,
Yes.
we have them in our protocol.
That's the sixth one.
Yeah.
That's why it's six.
okay, so there's nothing necessary there. Okay, then we can just go forward ahead with posting a call to the public, potential applicants for this economic development committee.
That's what we put in the, that's part of the recommendations, it's in the
So I'm saying that
recommendations.
we go forward with that right away.
By accepting the recommendations, we are going forward with that.
We don't need a second
We
motion.
don't need a new motion.
oh, okay.
It's already in the motion.
It's already in the recommendations, we've accepted the recommendations, moving this forward.
So
I guess
the,
the problem is that sometimes that we make recommendations and they sit for months. And I'm just saying, we want it to be the first step, immediately done, so that we can get it published to the public and that we can have news back by February and make decisions. I mean, well, we have to, even at least, okay, it'd be nice to get it in January, absolutely.
Well, the municipality shuts down in about a week, right?
Yeah.
Which is longer than the Hamilton Wentworth Police Recruiting Service, which is great.
It's
They
right.
shut down in November, I think, don't they, for sure? So the reality is, we don't start up again until the middle of January, or second, January, so.
there'll be a lot of work.
a lot of
But that,
We'll
the
get to
advertisement
it
will be under one of the,
when we can.
so.
It's in the recommendations, we'll get to it. when we can. Expediently.
Immediately, yeah, that would get us right, thank you.
Do the next January.
So you're okay with, without the second motion, they're gonna
Yeah,
get to
as
it
long
when we
as,
can.
yeah,
All right,
it's back in
Get
time
the
for us to make
recommendation.
decisions
All
by
right.
February.
thanks. And we have no bylaws or resolutions, no accounts, no motions, no emergent issues to be dealt with, no councilor reports. Anybody got a councilor report? Councilor Russell?
Yeah, a question was asked of me 2 nights ago, going past the county salt shed, why there's no salt in the county salt shed in December. I don't think it was because the person had just come by the Middlesex one and it was overflowing. I just thought, have we changed our,
You should have asked Jason.
You should have asked Jason.
I just thought of that because I was
The county's-
asked, and I said, I haven't got a clue where they store it anymore because we've had to change it. So,
The county salt shed on Townsend Line?
yeah, that's what
There's
they're
no salt in it? No, okay.
They could see a little bit of salt, you can see right through the back in, and I said, I have no idea, just, we have a new shed somewhere is what I was asking.
We had a mild winter last winter, so we
There
planned
you
for
go,
it.
you planned well.
Assuming the
Silly
same.
question.
The building marked Windsor.
No emergent issues. Opportunity for the public to seek clarification. Please note, as per bylaw 37, Section 15, subsection 13, questions must pertain to items on the agenda and be for the purpose of clarification